If they wouldn't have destroyed that card, the next step in the process would have been they would have froze the order and they would have sent me an email saying we're upcharging you because the declared value of this card is $1,600, so we're upcharging you for a higher declared value and a higher insurance amount. So you're telling me when it puts more money in your pocket, you can change the insured value,
right.
But when you make a mistake and it's to help the customer, you can't do it?
Right.
Show me the rarities. Show me the rarities. Show me the rarities.
Nice. All right. Sports card business, man. Let's do it. First question, Liquid Chris. Let's talk Wemby. So, like the hype right now. It's an exciting topic, and I want to know what you think of Wemby's pricing, and what do you think happens if he wins the finals? What do you think happens if he loses, percentage-wise? Give me your scope on Wemby.
So if he loses, he's going to go down drastically. He's already starting to go down just on the fact that he's down 3-1. So, like, if you looked at his PSA 10 Silver Prism, we talked about that before. That's a card that's a great gauge of the market for any player. There's sales on it every single day. It's highly liquid. So it's just a good gauge of what the player's current standing in the market is.
That's a good
it got
fact.
It got up to 4K before the finals started. It's now at 3K. Before the start of the season, it was at 800.
All right, so the Silver Prism, first off, is like the bellwether for a player's stock, is what you're saying.
And a bellwether is?
A bellwether would be like the S&P 500 is a good bellwether for how just the general stock market is doing.
Okay.
It's a gauge of that player.
Right.
And like how his stock is performing. Kind of like a middle of the road card. Mm-hmm. It's not unpopular. It's not the most popular thing.
Yep.
It's just like right smack in the middle and say, hey, if you're looking at Wemby values, look at the Silver Prisms, man. Give you a gauge of where his price lives right now.
Yeah, like if you look at all the comps, like over a span of a certain period of time, it will tell an accurate story of what his play was.
Well said. All right, and he's down 25% just since the Spurs went down 3-1.
Yeah, before the start of the series, I think it was the third. They were selling for 4K, and now they're down to 3K as of today.
Jeez. When they lose, so people are already starting to sell off.
Yep.
He had so much hype built into his name. He's a great player. He's going to be a legacy player. I think his stock is worth a certain amount of money. I think it's going to keep going up. I know it is. But it got overhyped. It went parabolic. And it's because of the possibility of winning that finals. And people try to bake that in. They try to get in early. He's going to win. It's pretty likely. Knicks haven't won in 30-some years. So they buy the Wemby and they drive the price way up. And so if Wemby wins, his stock's going to go to fucking Pluto. And like I can't buy Wemby's at that level. Because even if he has an above-average season next season, it's not going to be enough. His stock is going to be so far overpriced because of the finals. It can't just keep, he has a good start next season. It goes up more and more. Like that, it can only get stretched so far before it corrects. Right. That's like what silver just did. It became a hype trade. Mm-hmm. True fundamental things happened with silver, then it became a hype trade, and it got so stretched that eventually there's no more steam left to push the price up anymore, and it comes down. Yep. And that's what's happening with NBA Finals, man. If he wins, it's like, what's going to push it up even further than that? Maybe a good start to the next season. But eventually, when he just has an average performance, it's going to come back down. So I'm kind of hoping. I'm from New York, man. I want the Knicks to win anyway.
I actually like Wemby. I wouldn't mind seeing him win. Like, I'd root for him. I like seeing greatness in sports. But, you've heard me say it. I hope he loses just because I want another window to buy his stuff.
I want the Knicks to win because I'm from New York. But I think first I want him to lose so I can find a window to buy Wemby, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now is not the time. If you jump in now, it automatically turns into you're buying at the very top of the mountain, and you don't want to do that.
You know, it's a good point, dude. You say, like, if Wemby's down 25%, I thought and figured that if he doesn't win the finals, he'll drop like 10 to 20% tops. He's already down 25. Look how much hype was built into his name. He's down 25%, where now people are starting to come to the realization that the Knicks are going to win.
There's a lot of hype behind him because not only is he in the finals, so that's, the highest peak of greatness you can achieve in any single season, he also has the potential and the possibility of all-time greatness, right? So people are looking at him like he could be the next Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James caliber player. So if he wins the finals, that's just like the first notch in the belt in that journey towards being one of the greatest of all time. So it's that also plays the factor. It's not just like, if a regular player makes it to the finals, like Jalen Brunson, he's a great player. He made it to the finals, but you don't see his silver prisms doing 4K. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but I know it wasn't up to 4K. And he's a great player, but he's not an all-time great. At least he doesn't look like he's going to be. Wemby has the potential to be one of those top 4.
He's an anomaly. Watching him is like, you just left in shock and awe. He's doing stuff in basketball that I've never seen any player do. I mean, his size, his athleticism.
Ridiculous. 7'4", pulling up from 30 foot like it's
like
nothing.
40 feet. Yeah, it's crazy.
Handling like he's Allen Iverson. It's ridiculous. And then he almost bumps his head on the rim when he goes for a rebound.
He does have that legacy potential. I want him to consolidate so bad because we're more long term. We have our trades, little swing trades and stuff, but I want to buy Wemby and hold it for 4 or 5 years. I just don't want to buy it at this level.
Exactly.
And I'm scared that if they win, the stock is in no man's land, and then I can't.
Well, it looks like it's not going to take that turn. It looks like the Knicks are going to win.
I'm sorry?
And it looks like the Knicks are going to win, man. It's looking like they're going to win, and I would say Wemby's going to continue to go down, and I think he'll continue to go down until around when the NBA draft comes along. The next opportunity for him to go back up will be like free agency in the draft. If the Spurs add a big player, that'll build hype. Oh, the Spurs are gonna look good. It'll bring hype back up. But
That's a good point.
You wait till like the middle of the off season, the dead of the off season, before free agency and the draft and all that hits. And that's when it's like the dead period, the quiet time, and that's when you strike on Wemby.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head where the Spurs are in the draft?
So I'm not off the top of my head, no, but I don't think they have a high pick unless they own someone else's. They're in the finals. So
How many
they're at a late pick.
How many picks into the draft are the good ones? Before it's like, now you're dealing with middle of the road. Like, can you be like 17th, 18th in the draft and still get a killer?
It's possible, but the NBA draft is like the biggest crapshoot in all of sports. So like they call it the top 13 picks are called the lottery. So the people with the worst 13 record, with the worst 13, it's 13 or 14, the 13 or 14 worst records in the league, they get entered into a lottery. And all their ping pong balls spin and they spit out, and whoever comes out first gets the first pick, and so on down the road. And that's how they determine it. So the lottery is the portion of the draft where you're supposed to be able to get a big time player. Normally, the way it works out in any NBA draft, there's normally only 1 or 2 guys at most that come out and reach their full potential and become actual superstars. The top 10 are always like supposed to be good. They always have a ton of potential. They look like they could be great. It's only ever 1 or 2, maybe 3 at most in any given draft that actually pan out.
I'm wondering where the Spurs are, because that's like that's a big point to watch. They're 20th?
20.
Spurs are 20th. I wonder if they had a higher pick and there's the possibility of them getting a guy, it gives me like a little bit of it's like earnings report for a company. Like I know what to look at to see when the next time I can see an immediate pop is. Just because the Spurs pick.
So they also
it's not
got
really
money.
there on the 20th pick, and not so much.
They're probably not going to get a bona fide star at 20, They could get a guy with a lot of upside, and maybe he turns out good, but it's not going to be like at 20 they're drafting a guy that's going to zoom Wemby stock up immediately. Like they're not going to get a killer at 20 that people are thinking is going to come and change the tide or make that team that much better, but they have a lot of money. So they could go out in free agency and get someone. Yeah, they got a lot of young dudes on rookie contracts. Big money.
Question for you. Has there ever been a team that got somebody in the lottery that got like that first pick, the first round, first pick, and then won? So they went from being one of the worst 13 teams in the league to now winning the championship because of that first pick or that lottery pick?
I'm sure it's happened before. Off the top of my head, I couldn't say. One that comes to mind is a long time ago, the Boston Celtics. They made a trade and they ended up with the number 1 pick. They drafted Len Bias. He actually died on his draft night. But they had the first pick and they were like coming off a championship and going in the one the following year.
I didn't know Len Bias died on his draft night.
Cocaine overdose, dude. He was partying.
I remember the story on 30 for 30. I forgot that it was on draft night.
Yeah.
What a shame, dude.
Yeah. He was supposed to be one of like the greatest talents. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the same draft as Michael Jordan. It may have been either that or the year before.
Len Bias, I think, was in the same school as homeboy Chris Herron that was on Boston, who had that crazy OxyContin problem.
Yeah.
He would stand outside the Boston Garden, wait to pick up, get high, go in, drop 40 on him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
His story's crazy.
Crazy,
He had a
yeah.
great 30 for 30 also. All right, I want to talk to you about this. We're dealing with a collection right now that has a lot of old stuff in it.
Yeah.
And so now we're talking a lot about the older era of sports cards. And one thing you brought up that I thought was cool and never heard before was that back in the older days, collectors were more interested in building out sets, buying old cards, and they were disregarding the parallels, the case hits,
The inserts.
The inserts.
Yeah, yeah. They like the base cards. So yeah, like the older guys, like the OG collectors, these guys that are in like their 60s and 70s now. Back then, they definitely liked the base cards more, you know. Set building was a big thing, so Topps and Upper Deck and these big companies, they'd sell cards by the set, and what it was every base card for that set, excluding the inserts, the parallels, the numbered stuff, the autos, all of that. And that's what people built. So it was kind of looked at like the base cards was the original. That was the real thing. And the spin-offs or the inserts and all, they were like spin-offs, one-offs.
Why do you think that people were ignoring the fact that the spin-offs, if you want to call them, at the inserts, that's the scarcity, man. That's the true scarcity. There's one in that whole...
Yeah, so I think the scarcity may have been more created as time advanced, because if people aren't keeping those cards, they're not paying attention to them, they're not storing them or valuing them, they become scarcer down the line because just no one held them, you know? They disappear, whatever may happen to them. But I think that scarcity was more created down the line, and since people weren't getting them cards and keeping them and grading them and holding on to them as time went on, they became more rare and more valuable.
You know what that's similar to? In Silver Eagles, American Silver Eagles, for coins, they didn't start grading that. Those are called modern silver. They started them in 1986, but they didn't start grading them until '06. So 20 years later. And so they didn't really become super scarce until 20 years later. And during that 20 years, people would touch the coins, get their fingerprints on them. There was no reason not to touch them. If you're a dealer and I'm a dealer and we exchange a box of Silver Eagles, you're going to open it, make sure you got everything that you ordered, touch the coins, and then 20 years later, they became scarce. Okay.
It's also like the new age stuff. Like that's when the inserts were first becoming popular. That's when they first came out. So like some of the popular ones are like the Precious Metal Gems, Red, the 150. You got the Dunkin' Go Nuts. That was like a picture of Jordan or Kobe Bryant dunking, and it's got the Dunkin' Donuts logo on it, but it says Dunk and Go Nuts instead of Dunkin' Donuts. You got Jambalayas, which were like inserts.
I remember those.
The Jambalayas are hard. They're hard. And like,
You mean to tell me the old school guys, they didn't appreciate that stuff?
They did not as many of them. I mean, of course, there's some, but no, the bulk, the majority of the older guys, they wanted the base stuff. Like with this collection that I'm going through, this guy picked all the right players, right? He's got Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, and he has the base card for all of them. Every base card from every rookie base card from every set that existed, he has. And he has a couple inserts. But,
what does he say about the inserts? What does he say about inserts himself? Does he happen to be a guy that would rather have the bases than the inserts?
So this guy with that collection, it was actually his father's collection. So yeah, he said his father was just an old school collector. He liked the base stuff, the simple stuff. They didn't like that new school stuff, like...
It's like old heads looking at the new school style and being like, what are these idiots wearing? That type of thing?
Yeah, that sort of thing, exactly.
Oh, that's cool, man. See, I didn't know that. All right, last topic. PSA. We had a situation with them. I find it really interesting. If you can give me the snapshot layout of that situation, and we can process that together.
So in a nutshell, as it stands, it looks like, you know, they're hammering us right now. We made a submission back in January, submitted a little over 100 cards, various different service levels, one of them being a value max submission of 18 cards with a max insured value of $1,000. And it hit QHX in early April. It goes to seal it goes to grading, review, it gets graded, it goes to sealing. After it gets sealed, it goes to QHX, where they check and make everything's good and above vest. Then they release the grades to you, then they send it out. So it hit QHX and it froze. It was frozen for 3 weeks, started reaching out to PSA. couldn't get any real answers for about 2 to 3 months. A little over
2 to 3 months they made you wait before they gave you an answer.
2 to 3 months when I first.
You're in the dark the whole time.
The whole time. At first they said, so this happened in early April, they said, they gave me a date, I think it was early June, June 5th or June 6th. They said, you got to wait till June 5th or 6th for us to look into it any further. Once it hits that date, we can have a supervisor put in a request, an escalation request. That date came, he put it in, another couple weeks went by, and they said, you need to wait till XYZ date.
Now we're 4 months in?
No. Still 2 months.
Okay.
So I called at the end of April. That was early May. When I called, they said you need to wait till June 5th before we can put in an escalation. When I called on June 5th, they put in the escalation. A couple more weeks went by. They said, I'm sorry, May 5th. It was May 5th. I called in April. They said May 5th until we can put in the escalation. They put in the escalation. June came around. They said it needs to wait to another date until we can put in a further escalation, whatever. Someone ended up reaching back out via email before that happened. This was just about 3 weeks ago when they reached out, and they said that the reason this order was put on hold is because the Bryce Harper Kaboom, it was a 2022 Bryce Harper Kaboom that was part of the submission. They said it was destroyed in the sealing process. And it had gotten a PSA 10. Under the new condition, it would be a PSA 5. They offered a $1,000 payout, which was the full max insured value, and to re-slab it as either authentic or as the PSA 5 without charge. And that was basically what they offered.
All right, so they told you and confirmed the card was PSA 10.
Yeah.
It got messed up.
Yep.
It's 5 now.
Yeah.
We're going to pay you the $1,000 insurance.
Yeah.
Where was the issue?
The issue on the card or
Yeah.
the issue
This
with
is-
that payout?
This is the part I find interesting, yeah. So the issue is that it was a 10, and what's it worth?
Yeah, so the issue was that, first off, the card's Pop 11 and a PSA 10. It's a 2022 card, Pop 11, 11 in existence in that grade, so it's irreplaceable pretty much, You're not going to be able to find the new one. And the problem with that was when I submitted it, in a PSA 10, the card was comping at around 960. So I insured it for up to $1,000, thinking if it gets a PSA 10, that'll cover the full value. They held on to it for so long that it gave time for new comps to come in, and the new sales are all in the $1,500 to $1,600 range. So it's now valued more than it was when I originally submitted it.
Wow.
Yep.
It's a weird situation.
Yeah, very weird. Very weird situation.
And they're going to pay, understandable, doesn't mean we're going to like it, insurance value.
So
This is what you insured for, that's your insurance, $1,000.
Right, so that's what they offered. I made a couple points to them. I said that, listen, it's Pop 11, so it's irreplaceable. Even if you were to give me $3,000, it's not like I'd be able to replace that card. Maybe my intentions weren't to sell it. Maybe I wanted to keep it. So, that's
People
not
forget that
satisfactory.
there's real collectors in this world, too. They don't give a fuck about the investment or the money aspect.
Exactly.
That's a secondary thought to them.
Exactly, and a card like that is truly irreplaceable. There's 11 of them on the planet. The other thing was the offer, it wasn't good enough. You destroyed my card. It went into sealing in early April. That's when you destroyed it. You waited 2 months to tell me, hey, we destroyed this card. Since then, it's gone up in value 50%. So that's not fair. If they wouldn't have destroyed that card, the next step in the process would have been they would have froze the order and they would have sent me an email saying we're upcharging you because the declared value of this card is $1,600, so we're upcharging you for a higher declared value and a higher insurance amount. So you're telling me when it puts more money in your pocket, you can change the insured value,
Right.
but when you make a mistake and it's to help the customer, you can't do it?
Right.
So that just didn't sit well with me.
And there's no point where you would even think to insure it for more than $1,000 because that's what the 10 was worth. Had there been a possibility that it could be worth $1,500, if that was the 10's value, you would have insured it for that.
Exactly.
And so
You insure it
it
for what-
ties your hands behind your back. That's the risk that collectors, investors have to take, which is that PSA will hold shit up for a long time.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge that and know that because you're the one that has to deal with any issues. And if they lose or mess up the card, you're running the risk by sending into PSA of the card value going up and not getting paid out for it if something happens.
Yep. And here's the other thing, and I would never accuse anyone of anything strange or fishy without proof, but it's certainly strange that that was the one card in the order that was valued more than the insured amount. 18 cards. If they would have destroyed any of the other 17 and offered me $1,000 for it, it would have Cool, it would have been great. I would have got more money from you on that 1K than I could have got selling it anywhere else because they're all less valuable than 1K. That is the one card that ended up exceeding the insured amount and is more valuable, and it just so happens that that's the one that's destroyed. Like,
In a
fucked
hypothetical,
up coincidence or like,
right? I
what
don't
is
want to
it?
get into some conspiracies and stuff like that. I don't want to get us in any kind of trouble. But in
course
that
not.
scenario, what would be the benefit, hypothetical, to a grading company of destroying that card? Is it to lower the available population for other holders to get more value? Now it's Pop 10. Other holders would never know this one was destroyed, would they?
Well, it's population control. You run the possibility of maybe they're keeping the PSA 10 for themselves and swapping it with a damaged one, which I would never accuse them of doing so. But these are the things that you can think
Hypothetical
of.
scenarios where-
Exactly.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, big rabbit hole.
All right, that's it for now, bro. This is the macro and the micro. Chris will break down all these kind of big overarching topics that I can ask you about and get some clarity from your experience in the industry.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your time, and we'll be back next week, man.
All right, man.
Thanks, bro.
Do it. Peace.
Show me the